Hello, Mr. Ross.
And to you, good day.
I understood you talking about different levels of consciousness when I'm viewing myself as my old me that I am now versus the visualization of me, my ideal of,
Yes.
of how myself is.
Yes.
And I can viscerally feel the difference between the two.
All right, good.
But I get stuck mentally for myself.
How exciting.
I find myself more often than not vibrating at that lower self that I don't want to be.
Why are you choosing that?
I don't know.
Well, but that's the question. Because remember, what did we say about habit and pattern? When you say to us, I find myself or I have a tendency to, those phrases simply really mean I'm choosing for my own reasons that idea, that vibration, that reality. So the question to ask is, what would I have to believe is true about my relationship to this thing in order for me to choose that vibration, that idea, that reality? Find out what the definition is you're buying into that makes that seem like the preferable choice. Listen, you all have the same mechanism of motivation. You all are motivated by exactly the same mechanism. You always, and I mean always, and I mean unerringly, absolutely, always, without exception, always move in the direction of what you believe to be more pleasurable, more positive, and always move away from what you believe to be more painful and more negative. Always. So the question is, if you understand that that mechanism exists, yet you find yourself choosing things, find yourself doing things that are representative of non-preferable, painful things, that should tell you something immediately. What it tells you is, you have somehow attached to the thing that you say ought to be more pleasurable, something that makes it seem less pleasurable than the thing you keep choosing, no matter how painful it is. Find out what that definition is you have attached to the thing you keep choosing that makes it seem like the more pleasurable choice. For example, we often use this analogy. We know that on your planet, your children are often taught very contradictory, very polarized belief systems. Love of money is the root of all evil. If you don't make a lot of money, you're a failure. How do you reconcile those two beliefs? So the idea is you often have beliefs that are at war with each other. So if you realize, one day you wonder, why can't I attract abundance? You suddenly remember, because I was taught that if I love money, I'm an evil person. Well, it's more important to me, more important than money, to not be a bad person. So if I continue to believe that money makes me bad, I will always keep money at bay. Always. Because that's my preference, to not be bad. But if you realize that you've linked that belief to the idea of money, then you can say, oh, wait a minute, that makes no sense. I can have money, I can be totally abundant in many ways, and I know that doesn't mean I have to be a bad person. Once you dissociate, once you unlink those contradictory, polarized beliefs, then you can realize you can make different choices and that they will stick. Because you no longer have an overriding belief that you must choose this over that, because you've attached belief systems to them that are really representative of what you prefer, even though they may be contradictorily attached to opposing beliefs. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does this help you?
Yes.
So find out, when you choose something, first of all, recognize it is always a choice. Like we said, if it's conscious, it's a choice. A habit is unconscious. A pattern is unconscious. If you're aware of it, and you say, well, I recognize that I keep choosing, I recognize I have a tendency to, I recognize that, then you're aware of it. And so it's a choice. Own it. It's a choice. All right, I'm making a choice to choose something I don't prefer. Why would I do that? Then you can start finding out, what would I have to believe is true about this thing, about my relationship to this thing, to keep choosing it when I know I don't really prefer it? What would I have to believe is true about it? Then let yourself communicate with those portions of your consciousness that have the answer. If you be quiet and really investigate it, you'll get an answer, either internally or through synchronicity in your outer reflected reality. You'll get an answer, but you have to ask the question and be open and willing to receive an answer to really understand what the belief is that allows you to believe that's the choice you need to make. Because it's all predicated on definition. It's all predicated on belief. If you don't have a definition, if you don't have a belief, you don't feel any one way about anything, and you don't make any choices about anything at all. So it all comes from belief. It all comes from definition. Find out what it is. Recognize it has nothing to do with what you prefer. Let it go because you don't want to be a belief thief, and move on. All right?
What if I have trouble?
What if you have what?
Difficulty.
What if you have what? Why would you have trouble? Do you understand that what you're saying right now is a belief?
Yes.
I believe that if I move ahead in this process, my definition of this process automatically labels it as difficult and troublesome. Do you understand? That's a belief. It is not empirically true that the process is difficult. It's not built in. It's not automatic. It's not a given. It's your belief that the process will be difficult. So why believe that? You understand? You have to catch yourself at every phrase and hear yourself spouting beliefs. It's not a given. Many of you say those things as if they're carved in steel. Well, everyone knows this is difficult. No, they don't. Only you think it is. Maybe many other people believe the same thing, but who cares what they believe? What do you prefer to believe?
I prefer to believe that it's simple and easy.
Then when you vibrate in that frequency, you will get the synchronicity that brings you the opportunities that you can act on that will be simple and easy opportunities if you truly believe it can be that simple. But if you don't, it won't.
Very difficult through most of this life.
That's
to feel
all right.
Grounded.
It doesn't have to be difficult from this point forward.
Well, I just want to feel more grounded, more integrated.
Well, go ahead. What's stopping you?
I don't know.
Sure you do. It's easy. First of all, you understand that there's no such thing as an inherently difficult situation. All situations are neutral. They don't contain automatic difficulty. Sure, you have challenges, but that doesn't mean it's negative. But the idea is that if anything is experienced as difficult in the way you typically mean that, it means you have definitions that are making the experience difficult, that are filling the experience with difficulty. That's why it's so important to get in touch with definitions.
Okay. And that's why I'm feeling the anxiety.
Yes.
Okay.
That's okay. Please remember this important thing about belief systems. They are designed to perpetuate themselves in any way they can. The negative belief systems will perpetuate themselves using every single tool and trick they can. So sometimes they will actually use fear to keep you away from letting them go, from discovering them. They will make it seem so scary to go looking for those beliefs that you will shy away from doing that, and it keeps you locked into that negative belief system because you think the alternative, going to look for them, will be worse than just playing it safe. You have to remember that negative beliefs are literally smoke and mirrors. They are, as you say in biblical terms, the father of lies. They're going to tell you every single lie they can to keep you from discovering them and letting them go because that's their job. A belief system has to make itself seem to be exclusive of other beliefs. Otherwise, you can't have an experience based solely on that belief. But when it comes to negative beliefs, using the idea of the negativity in order to amplify themselves and magnify themselves or even sometimes hide themselves from you, they are designed to be masters at keeping you in the negative cycle. But once you know that all of your fears just come from something you believe to be true, then that's the skeleton key that frees you. Because once you know it's just a belief and not an empirical truth, that there's really something to be afraid of, then you can unlock from that belief and replace it with whatever belief you prefer.
Okay. Thank you.
Does this help you?
It does.
You're not overthinking, family. You're just believing every single thought. Family, I want you to watch this. The moment that you stop believing it, peace doesn't come. Family, it was already there.